thank you again for clicking on this video. I definitely still find these intros to be the weirdest part about this. Not used to it. Don't know how people do this so comfortably, but whatever. Hopefully we'll get there. Regardless of that though, let's get into what we're here for. So pretty much going to be doing the same thing that I did in the last video. Going to be going through in order of the draft, all the teams that picked running backs, kind of what I think they're going to look like, how that's going to affect the rest of their team, kind of what I think about it, kind of just general stuff since I'm still getting into it. What I didn't do in the last video that I probably should have, that I'm going to do here now, is kind of what I actually value in running backs, because just kind of talking about wide receivers, athletic profiles, talking about production profile, there's no point in talking about it if there's no context as to what it actually means. Now with wide receivers, I definitely think you put more value into their actual production profile over their athletic profile. Obviously you want to have both, but most people aren't going to have everything. With running backs, on the other hand, their athletic profile is definitely the more important thing. We've seen plenty of running backs that don't have the production that you want, but they have the athletic profile, and when they get into the NFL and they get that volume, they crush. So there's a couple things that we're going to be looking for in these running back profiles. First off is going to be projected workload along with draft capital. Those two things I mentioned because they pretty much go hand in hand. If you get the high draft capital, you're almost guaranteed to get the workload. The other times where you can get the workload is when you come into a spot that doesn't have the type of competition. There's some pretty obvious examples in this draft that we're going to go over in a little bit, but workload and draft capital are two of the biggest things. The next thing would be athleticism, more importantly, size-adjusted athleticism. To be more exact, we're looking for people to be 5'10 or above, really, kind of in that 210 or above range. Also, being somewhere around that 30 BMI score is really important. Since the 2014 draft, 40% of the running backs to finish within the top 6 have a BMI score anywhere between 29.5 and 31. I mean, if that doesn't show you how important, or not necessarily how important, but how predictive that this can be, I don't know really what does. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. So that, along with having good 40 times, good speed scores, good agility scores, all of that is really important. I mean, what's nice about running backs is that you don't have to be an absolute burner. You just can't be running like the 4.7s. We can't have any Kyron Williams out here. I think there's really only about 10 here that can impact fantasy football and the other people surrounding them. With all of that said, let's get into it. So obviously first up, we got Breece Hall out of Iowa State. He was taken with the 4th pick in the 2nd round by the Jets, first running back off the board. So right away, he gets that draft capital. He has a BMI over 30. And if you look at his measurables, 5'11", almost 220 pounds, not to mention his ridiculous scores. Above 94th percentile or above in all 3 of these measurable categories. And while it's not as important with the running backs, he still has the production every single year of college, the early breakout age, along with him having an 80th percentile college target share. I mean, he just profiles to be an absolute 3-down workhorse. Now, he gets drafted to the Jets, which don't have the best offense, but they're young and they're improving, like I talked about in the last video. They have Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, who are both really good wide receivers, specifically Garrett Wilson. They also have Zach Wilson, who, I mean, wasn't super impressive last year, but he did show improvement towards the end of the season, and he's a rookie. I mean, we didn't really expect a lot of rookies to produce right away until we had people like Justin Herbert coming in and just going crazy. So there's definitely still the chance that they're going to keep getting better this year. And when you add somebody like Breece Hall, I mean, that's only going to help your offense even more. Also did have Michael Carter, who was pretty good last year. But if you look at their profiles and what they do, while in the beginning, I think they might share some time, I think it's just inevitable that Breece Hall is going to take over that 3-down workload sooner rather than later. They also finished 11th at the end of the year in PFF's offensive line grades. So that just shows that they actually have something to build around there. And they didn't even have Mekhi Becton pretty much all of last year. So they're just going to keep getting better at that. He pretty much checks every single box you could ask for. He's probably going to be taken with the 101 in your rookie drafts. I took him. I had the 101, even though I was last year's champ. What's up? I mean, you see that he compares to Jonathan Taylor just athletically. I know I don't think he's going to be Jonathan Taylor, but he's going to be an absolute stud. Don't know what else there's to say about him. If you can get him on your team, get him on your damn team. Okay? All right, sweet. Next up, we got Kenneth Walker, taken with the 9th pick in the draft by the Seattle Seahawks, coming out of Michigan State. Probably the best running back in college football last year. If you watch him, I mean, hard not to love him. You can see that he checks a lot of the boxes. He has the size, he has the weight, He has the BMI, ran a 4.3840, which is 98th percentile for his size. Another 96th percentile speed score. So the real knock on him comes with his receiving. He doesn't profile to really be that receiver. If you watch some of his tape, you can see that he seems to catch the ball and run through pretty smoothly, but he didn't show that consistently in college. You can see that 32nd percentile college target share is just not what you want to see. For anyone that doesn't know by now, receiving is absolute gold in fantasy football when it comes to running backs. If you play in any type of half PPR format, you need your players to catch the ball if you want them to have any type of upside. There were only 2 people that finished in the top 12 of fantasy running backs last year who had below 40 receptions. And that was Nick Chubb and James Conner, who are 2 of the most prolific touchdown scorers in the league, especially last year. And not to mention Kenneth Walker got drafted to the Seattle Seahawks, who just lost Russell Wilson, so he's going to a terrible offense. Or what projects to be a terrible off. I don't have much faith that they're going to be very good. The Seattle Seahawks also ranked 25th in the NFL for offensive line last year by PFF, which is not what you want when you have a bad quarterback play along with a rookie running back. They did draft Charles Cross, who profiles to be a great offensive tackle. Most tackles don't produce right away in the NFL, so you're going to need some time with that. So while he does profile to be an extremely good rusher, there's a decent chance he's going to be a first and second down kind of guy, which is not what you want out of your fantasy running backs, especially if you want them to be your RB1, RB2, take them with a second or third pick in your rookie drafts. It's hard to pass up the positional value with running backs, so it's a tough dilemma. Luckily, I didn't personally have to make it. So I do love Kenneth Walker, but the situation he falls in just isn't ideal. They also have Rashaad Penny, who finally looked like he can play football again last year, and Chris Carson, who I do kind of worry he might never play football again with his neck injury, but I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to speak too much on that. I hope him all the best. He got paid, so that's good. But we'll see what happens with all of that. Now, from there, there's definitely a tier break in the running back talent. The next person taken was James Cook with the 31st pick in the second round. He went to Georgia, now on the Bills, which is a good landing spot. I just don't see him getting the full workload. Devin Singletary was a running back 2 in the fantasy playoffs last year. I just don't see them giving that up. They also have Zach Moss, who's kind of a nothing. But what it really comes down to is that there's other talent in the backfield here, and Josh Allen also rushes the ball so much. All that combined, I don't see him being a difference maker, should I say. I think he's going to be a good fantasy asset. He profiles to be a receiving down player. I mean, he has really low BMI, as you can see. Solid 40 time, I should say. But 5'11", under 200 pounds. I just don't really see him being much more than a receiving back, which is going to be great, I think, in the Buffalo Bills offense if they use him, because it's one of the best offenses in the NFL. But I've seen him go in the first round of rookie drafts, and I think that's a little bit too much for me. I think there's other running backs here who have a higher upside, and that's what I'm looking for. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to win, and what you need to win is upside. And I don't see that here. I mean, you do see the 66th percentile target share, which is solid, especially when he was playing with someone else who's a great receiving back like Zamir White. Not to mention, he is also Dalvin Cook's brother, but I'm sorry, he is not Dalvin Cook. I feel like the fantasy community is forcing him as the RB3 off of the board because he was taken as the RB3. Well, partially because he was taken as the RB3 in the draft, but also because he comes onto the Bills. And people wanted Breece Hall to go there with, I think, the 25th pick in the first round, which they then traded up to the 23rd pick. What I'm trying to get at is when Breece Hall didn't go there and then they took another running back in the second round with James Cook, people wanted to kind of just slot him in. And I think there is some type of residual thing that's left over there. And that's part of the reason why people love this guy so much. And I do too. Like, I would love to take him in the second round of my rookie draft. I think he's going to be good at what they want him to do. I just don't think he's going to be that 3-down workhorse. Moving on to Rashaad White. He was taken with the 27th pick in the third round out of Arizona State, now on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is another person who I kind of think is being overvalued a little bit. Like I mentioned, landing spot is extremely important for running backs. And a lot of people really think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a great landing spot, which in theory, yes, it is, because they have a great offense. But there's a couple things. First off, how long is their offense going to be great for? I mean, Tom Brady just signed a $375 million deal to call football games. If they don't make the Super Bowl, he might just retire on the spot and just start calling games. I mean, he's going to get paid $37.5 million a year. Like, that's more than he's getting paid from Tampa. So really, there's a decent chance that just this next year is going to be the year where their offense is super good. From there, I mean, is Kyle Trask going to take over and be the guy? Is he going to lead Rashaad White to the promised land? I don't think so. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Who knows? I don't think so, though. I mean, he does have a pretty solid profile, especially athletically, above the 80th percentile for all of his speed, 40-yard dash, burst score, all that kind of stuff. Profile is great there. 29 BMI score, a little bit low, but he's 6 feet tall, 215 pounds, so he has the size and everything. But he probably has the best receiving profile. I mean, you see the 98th percentile college target share. That's kind of absurd. And we know how much Tom Brady loves checking down and passing to his running backs. So I think he's going to definitely take over that Giovanni Bernard role right away. But the other thing I wanted to mention was Leonard Fournette. I mean, Leonard Fournette finished last year in 7th in points per game, 6th if you take out Derrick Henry, and was 3rd in the league in receptions for running backs. What I'm getting at is that the role's kind of already taken. I mean, obviously, there's still that Giovanni Bernard role, but like I said for James Cook, I don't see the same upside. They also just paid Leonard Fournette on a 3-year deal. I don't really see him as anything else than someone to come in and take some of the workload off of Leonard Fournette. I don't think he's going to have a very high upside, especially because they're playing for right now. He'll have good weeks probably because he's athletic and he's in a great offense, but it's tough to really predict it being a very consistent thing. All right, moving on to the 49ers pick of Tyrion Davis Price out of LSU with a 29th pick in the 3rd round. I'm a Niners fan, so I have a little bit of personal attachment to this pick. And by that, I mean, I kind of hate it for us. I mean, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. We spent draft capital last year on Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell, who Elijah Mitchell hit in the 6th round. And we have other running backs who have shown to be good. I mean, I know how much Shanny loves his damn running backs, but we got other holes to fill. I don't think he has much of an impact himself. I think he more impacts Elijah Mitchell more than anything. I mean, if he gets opportunity, he'll probably be good because he's a big-bodied bruiser. I mean, he's 29.7 BMI, 6 foot, 220 pounds, runs basically a 4.5. He's big and he's pretty fast. He doesn't have the burst though, and he doesn't profile to be a good receiving back, which if anything, I think that's more of what we needed. We have other people like this. So all I really see this doing is limiting Elijah Mitchell's upside. We also have Trey Lance, who's supposed to be starting for us this year. We have a good offensive line, but Trey Lance will also be rushing and taking opportunity away from Elijah Mitchell and him. So I don't like it for the Niners. I don't like it for us. I don't like it for fantasy. I didn't really think much of this guy coming into the draft, but I definitely like him because he's in the Shanahan offense and running backs just tend to do good in there. But besides that, there's not much I really love about this pick. And I definitely think it holds Elijah Mitchell from being like in that high-end running back 2 range. I think he's going to be in more of that middle, low-end running back 2 range now. Now we're moving on to Brian Robinson Jr. out of Alabama. Got drafted with a 34th pick in the 3rd round by the Washington Commanders. He's honestly kind of like Tyrion Davis Price. I mean, look at this guy. He's huge. He's also old and also not very fast. Not somebody I am honestly super interested in. This is just another killer of somebody else, which is somebody who I love, and that's Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson, I'm sorry, he's dead, which sucks because, dude, I love Antonio Gibson. I love his talent. I love watching him play. I think if he got the opportunity, he'd be amazing, but he's not going to get that opportunity. We've already seen that they want to give J.D. McKissick the passing down work. I thought he was going to leave to the Bills, but nope, decided to come back at the last second. And now Brian Robinson is, I mean, this guy is the definition of a 2-down grinder. I mean, look at him. Look at him. 6'2", 225. But again, he doesn't have that. So I don't know. I guess he's another handcuff for Gibson, but he's really just a Gibson killer. I mean, I've already started to adjust my rankings, which I will be doing ranking videos in the upcoming weeks. I just don't know how much I actually want to do because it's so early in the season or in the off season that like it's so hard to rank people still. So I'll probably do like my top 12, like running back 1, wide receiver 1s, because that's a little bit easier to determine at this time. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, he kills Gibson. Kills him. Another person that's probably going to be in the mid to low end running back 2 for me. And which sucks. I love him. Whatever. Moving on. Okay, we're moving on to Damien Pierce out of Florida. He was taken with the 2nd pick in the 4th round by the Texans. Now, he's not somebody whose profile I really loved. I mean, he's pretty big, 5'10", 225, with a 32 BMI. I mean, that's honestly a little bit higher than I would like. He also didn't blow anything out of the water with his testing. You can see all his 40-yard dash and his speed score isn't anything amazing, but at his size and still around, the 4.6 range, he'll be fine. What I do love about him is his landing spot. He is somebody who is going to get the opportunity almost right away. I would not be surprised if he was a starting running back by like week 3. And what did I say at the beginning of the video? One of the most important things, opportunity. I mean, we saw Najee Harris finish 7th in fantasy points per game last year while averaging under 4 yards per carry. And you want to know why that it is? Opportunity. I mean, were the Steelers a good offense last year? No, absolutely not. Opportunity. But that's literally just because of his opportunity he's going to get. And honestly, Dougie Mills, Davis Mills, honestly, not that bad. I kind of liked him last year. Better than most of the rookie quarterbacks. Any better landing spot than all of them. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to get an opportunity. He just needs to beat out Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead. I think he'll be okay. And then we're taking him to the promised land. You see he's compared to Chris Carson, and I think that's actually a pretty good comparison. We've seen some great seasons out of him too. I mean, we don't got Russell Wilson, but we got the opportunity. So yeah, actually somebody I really love here. Somebody I was not expecting to love at all. With this landing spot, yeah, sign me up for it. All right, next up we got Zamir White, taken with the 17th pick in the 4th round, out of Georgia, taken by the Raiders. Kind of weird that the Raiders took him, given that they have Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. They have a super good running back room. So he's not really somebody that I love. I mean, he's got some crazy measurables. He's got a nice profile. I mean, being 96th percentile in your 40-yard dash and 95th percentile in your speed score. I mean, that's awesome. Along with being 6 foot, 215 pounds and having a BMI at 29. I mean, that's a great profile. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a great receiving profile, and he landed on the Raiders, where he's going to have almost no opportunity. And he's a mid-4th round draft pick, so he doesn't have the draft capital. All of that combined, it makes me somebody I'm not super interested in, but I do like his talent. So, I mean, if you can get him late in rookie drafts, that's awesome, but I'm not taking him in redraft leagues or anything this year. They also have so many weapons there that I just don't see him getting much work at all. So we're going to move on to the next pick, Isaiah Spiller. Dude, this guy. I don't know if you are keeping up with the rookie dynasty community from the start of the year, but Isaiah Spiller was in contention to be the RB1 off the board, which honestly, I was in that camp. He has a great receiving profile. You see that 75th percentile college target share, and he's huge. I mean, he's 6 foot, 220 pounds. It's also like rumors in the beginning of the year that he was 6'2", 225. If he was that big and had that type of receiving profile, along with, I mean, if all of that was true, I mean, that'd be sweet. But this is the same thing about Breece Hall, and he obviously wasn't that big either. The real issue came with his testing. I mean, you can see these absolutely pathetic numbers. I mean, look at this. This is so sad. God, that's terrible. But he does land on the Chargers, which I think is a good spot for him. I mean, one of the best offenses in the NFL. They obviously have Austin Eckler, who they love, and is an absolute stud, like really good at receiving too. So I don't really see him taking any work from him. He also might get some of the red zone opportunity and stuff because he's that big body. But Austin Eckler, I think, proved last year that he can score touchdowns. I mean, he's great at it. So really, I just see him as a handcuff to Austin Eckler. But I think he's one of the elite handcuffs in the NFL. So if you have Austin Eckler, try to get him. But yeah, not much else to say about him. So let's move on to the last person I'm going to discuss, Tyler Algier. He was taken in the 5th round out of BYU by the Atlanta Falcons. Another big body, 5'11", 220 pounds, over 30 BMI. Not super great testing, as you can see with all of his speed scores and agility scores and 40-yard dash and all of that. But seems to be a pretty good receiver with his college target share. It's another good landing spot, kind of like Damien Pierce, where it's not a great offense, but there's a good chance he's going to get a lot of opportunity. So somebody who I'm pretty interested in later in drafts. He's got Cordarrelle Patterson and Damian Williams in front of him. It's hard to really know what Cordarrelle Patterson's going to be because he was so good the first half of last year, but then was so bad the second half, and he is older and didn't really show production like this until last year. It's hard to really know, but I do think there's a chance that he gets opportunity. What have I been preaching all video? Opportunity, baby. Let's get it. Just given that possibility, I definitely think he's someone you should keep your eye on. All right, we did it, y'all. Another video in the books. Thank y'all for watching. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.